Good morning, good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is Friday, October 3rd, 2025, and it is another day, just another day. Lots going on as usual, and we will continue to try and cover the news as much as we can while we are able to. As you can see, nothing is normal anymore in these United States of America, and so we have to just really pay attention now to what's going on around us and how we react to it, because none of the good morning Dennis, good morning Bobby, and good morning Laura, none of what we would have considered normal is normal anymore. So we have to be very mindful. Let me I need to do the morning motivation, and then we will go into all of what's happening. And we have our guest this morning, so we'll do that too. Research shows being constantly busy has major side effects. It permanently reduces your ability to think. Let me read that again. Research shows that being constantly busy has major side effects. It permanently reduces your ability to think. To protect our brains, according to science, it is necessary to balance intense focus with idleness. However, in our fast paced world, where every spare moment is filled with checking our phones, this reset is often neglected. This constant stimulation trains our brains to crave busyness, making it harder to disconnect. Neuroscientist Daniel Levitin, highlights these concerns in his book, The Organized Mind. He pointed out that information overload keeps us trapped in a cycle of noise, sapping both our willpower and creativity. Levitin explains that to prevent overload, we need to hit the reset button, which means carving space in your day for lying around, meditating, or just staring off into nothing. How many of you how many of you have done that, where you just shut everything down and stared off into space for a new normal? Yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment and I was so frustrated at the end of it. This is getting on my nerves. One of these things are getting on my nerves and I can't figure out which one it is. It's still lopsided. I'll figure it out. It so devastated me in the conversation that I was having, asking a doctor who should know better and be better, a surgeon, to do something that he knows would make things better for me. But he's like, well, the insurance company says you have to show signs of this and you have to show signs of that. And so we have to do this and then we have to do that to make sure. And I'm just like, wait, what? I was so frustrated. I sent a message to my sisters, one of whom is a nurse and married to a surgeon. And then I was about 8 minutes around the corner from a friend of mine who we've been friends for years and years, just decades. And she said, come to my house and we'll go have lunch. And so for 2.5 hours, because I was in the doctor's office for so long, trying to figure out what my next moves were, for 2.5 hours, I just sat there numb. We had lunch. I came home because it was like at 3 o'clock at that point in the afternoon. I came home and I got into bed. I shut off the phone and I didn't talk to anybody else. I was done. And I'm starting to realize that every part of our lives now is impacted by what's going on in this country. Insurance companies are making unilateral decisions about our health. We have to be on death's door or some kind of emergency. And the doctor said it has to be an emergency. We just not can't. And even though you have the insurance that allows you to go anywhere you want to, which is what I'm doing, I'm now seeking opinion somewhere else, then it's a problem, right? And so he just kept saying, well, you could have this side effect and that side effect. And I'm like, dude, we're not doing this. You're not doing this with my health. I have to make sure that I am okay. And so I shut everything down and went to sleep. I did. Woke up at midnight and just made myself shut myself down again. And so the insurance companies are now saying, if you are not on death's door, if you don't have a particular incident, even they're not doing anything about it. They're telling you that you have to still pay your premiums, but medications are getting more expensive. I went to have a well visit, and I'm sharing all of this with all of you because I don't think I'm the only one that's going through this. As we get older, they become less compliant about what we want to do with our health, right? So I had a yearly visit, and I noticed that I was charged a $10 copay, and I was like, I had a yearly visit. It's supposed to be free. So I went back to the doctor's office twice yesterday morning before I went to the other doctor. And I said, what is happening here? The office manager came out and said, well, you discussed this, and this. I said, yes, because she asked me, she went through my whole chart, and she asked me, how is that going? And how is that going? And just my answering the questions turned it into another visit. So she was able to charge, they were able to charge the insurance company twice for the yearly well visit. And then she turned it into a yearly visit, and then she turned it into a well visit. So I had two visits in one and didn't realize it. To me, and I said, she said to me, did she not tell you this was going to, I said, no, we never had a conversation. She asked me what was happening here. Did I see that doctor? Did I see, and every question I answered then turned it into something other than a well visit. So this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I don't know. So I reached out to a couple of people. And so I have a plan in mind because you all know me. I never just lay down and die about anything. So I have a definite plan in mind. I'm going out of network to make sure that I can get what I need to do, because I do not want to sit around and go, oh, well, because you waited 2 years, it's now this, which is what they're waiting for. For them, they're not getting enough money if they're not, doing chemotherapy or something else. God knows what it is. And so the friend that I was talking to, and I mean, I had tears in my eyes. I turned the corner into her winding driveway. She looked at me. I opened the door, and she just enveloped me in a hug. And as I'm sharing what had just transpired with me, she said, oh, I didn't tell you. She travels quite a bit for her work. And she was out of town, and she didn't feel well. And she went to go see a doctor, who then sent her to the emergency room. Emergency room doctor says, no one's ever done a complete blood panel on you. What's going on? She said, I don't know. Nobody tells me. I'm just assuming that I am well. They do it, and her iron was so low. He said she was one drop away from needing a blood transfusion. She then calls her network, where her doctors and hospitals are, and she says, I'm out of state. I need to figure out something. Can somebody tell me what to do? They told her, well, the first appointment is in 11 months. Now, we all know when you have low iron, low blood count, that's an issue. I know. And I said, did you say they told you 11 months? She said, they told me 11 months. So what she has had to do, I'm telling you, she had to then go find a concierge doctor. So on top of what she pays for health insurance, she now has a concierge doctor that charges her $2,500 a year that she can see morning, noon, or night if she has an emergency, 24 hours a day. That's something that Dr. A.La used to do. You heard her talk about Will Smith, etc. She used to do concierge services. And she said that's the only way now with insurance, health insurance, what is happening, here. And I said to her, are you telling me? She said, yeah, Andrea, yeah. Because a lot of the doctors are quitting. What they have to pay for malpractice insurance forces them out of the business. Some of them go into private practice, and they catch hell trying to get patients just to cover their practices. So now they've set me in a motion to figure out what the hell is going on in the health insurance industry. Laura, I know the copays are for the doctor's office, but it does signal that they charge the insurance company for something else other than what I went in there for. That was the point I was making, right? So Dennis, I paid the $10. I told them I wanted it investigated, told them exactly what happened. And I said, when y'all figure it out, send me back my $10. But what I don't want to have is them calling, sending me a message every other day that I owe them $10. It's too much. It is absolutely too much, right? So you all watch me. It has gotten to the point in this country that if you are not actively exercising, if you are not actively figuring out what the hell you're putting in your mouth, because even when it says non-GMO, non-genetically modified, that you making the things in the same soil that they're talking about is not, they don't put pesticides in it, but the soil is already so compromised. You have to look and see what is on the like you get coconut water in a can and it has all these preservatives. No, coconut water, Tiffany, you gave me a can of coconut water that I knew immediately that was filled with preservatives and I couldn't drink it. You have to be you have to be incredibly mindful because they're making it untenable for you to get the insurance, to get the care for the insurance that you absolutely pay for. So did you hear? Yes, Dennis. Yes. Yes. So do you hear the frustration in my voice? I exercise almost daily. I choose what I put into my mouth. So at this point, I am looking at doctors who are working with, without using medication, like holistic doctors. That's where I am right now because they're piling us with medication, telling us we should take it. And then when we take it, it causes all these other extra things that are going on. It is crazy. So there's several avenues that are taking us out of here. One of them is through the healthcare industry. And I can imagine how people feel because I have said this over and again. I don't care how much money you have in the account. We are all one major health crisis away from going completely broke, destitute, unhoused, right? Grateful for my sisters because I put a message in our chat group. I had been dealing with this thing for months. I've been dealing with this thing for months, and so I had been kind of isolating myself, trying to figure out how I was going to navigate through it. And yesterday I thought, well, this is the day where I'll know exactly what I can do, blah, 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 blah. Only for that man to turn around and tell me, yeah, well, you don't have the symptoms that we know. We see what we see, but you don't have the symptoms that you need to have in order for us to take it seriously. Say what, man? Say what now? So I'm telling you all, be very mindful. And oftentimes, they tell you they don't see anything on the report. Everything looks normal, but it's not normal. Another instance that I had yesterday, one of my friends had a mild chest pain, and just shortness of breath. Did the EKG, did the echocardiogram, did all these other things. They could find nothing. Thank God he had a black doctor who said, yeah, I still don't believe that this not nothing. So he said the last thing I'm going to do is give you a dye and put this thing in your arm to check your heart just to make sure. 2 blocked arteries that they couldn't pick up in the echocardiogram, couldn't pick it up, and so they don't want to run the test, right? And most insurances were like, well, your echocardiogram is fine, you should be fine. You should be fine. So I need you all to push a little bit more for your health and well-being, because too many people are on my timeline getting infusions of chemotherapy, radiation, all sorts of things going on. We have to really pay attention to what's going on with our bodies, right? So if it means I gotta fly somewhere else to get health care, but not everybody can afford to do that. Not everybody can afford to get concierge service. Not everybody can afford to pay an additional $2,500 a year to have full-time service on top of what they're paying for the insurance premiums. This is where we are in the United States of America. That's where we are. So what are we going to do? We're taking all these weight loss medicines, and they're the side effects of them. Yes, you lose weight, but the side effects of them are killing us. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. But what I know is it is important for me to fight for my well-being. This, with everything else, I kept getting, why is your blood sugar normal and you're not on any medication? What's happening there? And I won't tell them. I will not tell them. I will not tell them, because then they'll try to figure out a way to tell people, well, this is what you do, blah, 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 blah. The dialysis clinics are filled with people who are on medication for you name the thing. And they're slowly dying in those clinics. My friend Antoine was told he would not live a year if he did not get on dialysis last year, July, August, early August. We're now into October. He's still alive without being on dialysis. He says it's a money grab. He still needs a kidney, but he's still thriving, not living without the dialysis, where all that pain, the completely upending your house, the whole 9 yards. it is, it is, it is. I'm just stopping short of saying it's criminal. I literally am. Because I don't know. If we're paying this much for health insurance and we still can't get the care that we need, then what's the point, right? It's a lot. Um, um, uh, uh, this is so crazy. Tiffany says, I thought it should only have coconut water in it. It should, which means it should be frozen when you get it and it will expire within 7 days. Most people don't get that, right? It's that stuff in a can that you see that you can drink. And all those long labels that you see on the back of the can, just copy them, paste them, and find out exactly what they are, right? That stuff is just not good. That stuff is just not good. Laura says, I was saying it because the doctor could be waving and be civil and keep a good relationship with their clients. Yeah, I hear you, Laura, but that didn't happen, right? Um, Laverne says, I'm on my way to the lab this morning to get hormone and allergy check. Yeah, go back and look. Laura says, I adhere with getting a neuropathic doctor. They are worth the money. Remember when I was first diagnosed with diabetes in 2019, and I told you I booked the doctor, and I said, yeah, I know you want me to take this thing, but give me 6 months. And I went and saw a nutritionist. I stuck my finger because, see, diabetes runs rampantly in my family, and I just wanted it to stop right here. Stuck my finger, I knew I couldn't eat white rice. I knew I couldn't all the things. So I completely adjusted my diet. It really is a thing that you have to stick to. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to do it for a little while. And and began, riding my bicycle, going on a spin bike, all the things. When COVID happened, I got on my bicycle and was riding 100 miles a week. Knew I wasn't going to be able to sustain it, but knew I was going to keep exercising no matter what. When the country reopened and me and my pals couldn't ride as much as we wanted to, I'm now with Audra, doing what I'm supposed to do, trying to stay as healthy as I possibly can. Because I'm telling you, there was an article that I saw 2 days ago about anyone who is 65 and older, that the doctors and the insurance companies are discouraging seniors to go into the emergency room because they say that there's no money in making, there's no money to be made for seniors because you have too many issues and they have to do too many tests, and it's just not beneficial to the insurance company. Now, 2 years ago, they said the same thing, but they coached it in, oh, well, emergency rooms are filled with germs and seniors should stay out of them. So if you are under the sound of my voice and I am having this conversation with you and I'm telling you what needs to be done, I went back to the doctor 6 months later. They told me, you need to go to the dentist every 6 months. You need to get your eyes checked every year because blah, 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 blah. I went back after 6 months and my A1C was normal. And she says, oh, that's amazing. And then she said, most Black people are not able to do this, right? They're just not able to do this. And so we'll see how you do. And it's now 6 years later. So they're not making any money off of me, right? There is no whatever the thing is that they used to do to keep your diabetes in check, because I'm using food and lifestyle to stop myself from having to be on any of those things and keeping my A1C normal. It's a lot. But what is it worth it to you? So many people I know now are either on dialysis because their kidney disease has progressed to the point where, because they were taking the medication and still eating the things that they wanted to eat, right? Just a lot. And so the person that saved my life was my eye doctor, who was like, yeah, no, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And I did it. And so I'm sitting here now, not worrying about taking insulin or anything else. And what I had to do was to continue to do what needed to be done, follow the protocols. Do I eat a slice of cake every once in a while? Mm-hmm. Do I eat some bread every once in a while? Mm-hmm. But I am very mindful about what I put in my mouth. And so what I am saying to you is that you're going to have to figure out a way to naturally cure and heal yourselves instead of just adhering to what they tell you to do. Because every time you have to get these things, you're giving money to the insurance companies. There should not be a plethora of pills lined up across your desk because they've got a pill for this and a pill for that and a pill for that. Mm-mm, mm-mm. So there endeth my epistle, because I'm just whoo, it's a lot going on out here. And so people are suffering silently and not saying anything. Well, you know me, we're not doing that. We are absolutely not doing that. Um, and then the other thing that I wanted to be careful how you treat people. Just be careful. Um, my same friend said to me, she was in Martha's Vineyard and she was approached by two people, and one of them had done harm to me, got an email, all of the things. And she said, I just didn't respond. She said, they see the power and the billions of dollars that I have, but none of them knew you and I were friends. And so she said, I'm just not, people will, you've got to be mindful about the way you treat people, because you think these people are not interconnected in some way, shape, or form. You must be mindful, must be mindful. So that person who could have gotten $5 million got zero, not because of anything I did, but because my friend recognized that this is what was going on. Another one jumped off the stage and was like, how do I not know you? She said, because I'm not in that bit. I'm just not, no. And she and I took a picture yesterday. I'm not going to post it because a lot of jaws are going to drop. Just a lot of jaws. You just don't know who knows whom. Be mindful. And when you think you're setting a trap, and when you think you're destroying someone, you just got to be mindful. Just have to be mindful. There are folks who believe that their position can create a space for them to destroy others, and they gleefully walk away thinking that they're destroying, except they don't know. Relationships matter, y'all. Relationships absolutely matter. And when you think you're taking something away from someone, and you're in the background going, "Oh my God, I got rid of she. I'm gonna show her. She thinks she da 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 da." You just never ever know. And the best relationships are the ones that you don't flaunt and put on social media for everybody to see, because they're powerful people in our midst and you just don't know. Be very mindful about how you treat people. Always, always. I'm going to leave that alone. Alexandra says, I just had an appointment with Jefferson Nephrology on Monday. My kidneys are functioning 100%. He applauded me for advocating my medication be changed. I've been cleared to return to the gym. Very good. And your blood pressure is even lower. And I want to bet that happened as a direct result of a certain person. Yes. Oh, she said, oh, and I've lost 10 pounds following Dr. Major's instructions. Mm-hmm. Wayletta says it's a lifetime change. We have to be intentional in our health. Yeah, you cannot hit or miss with your health, right? Yes, you can. One of the things that I have been saying for a long, long time, alcohol is the worst thing for diabetics. It turns straight into sugar and hits straight into your bloodstream. She's like, oh, I'm not eating anything and I'm not, but alcohol is killing you, which is why so many of those rappers that had diabetes died so soon in their late 30s, early 40s, early 50s. So it is just important that we adhere to, okay, I might want to have a sip of wine. I don't drink at all. They laugh at me every time I order a drink. I take one sip and I waste money. So I don't order drinks anymore. I'm just not into alcohol. But anything that turns into sugar, right? You want some ice cream, have 2 scoops of ice cream and then don't eat ice cream again for months. Just don't eat it. If you know you don't have the willpower, same thing with cake, same thing with a whole lot of bad carbohydrates. There are good carbohydrates and bad ones. What are you doing? What are we doing? Is it worth it for the moment of joy that you feel when you're eating or drinking these things versus just making sure you're going to be okay? Oh my God. It's too much. It's too much. Laura says it should be called sick care because it's definitely not health care. Right. Right. Laverne says people need to check their gossip and jealous spirits. So that's the other thing. When you see someone gossiping all the time, move yourself away. Just excuse yourself and go on. I've sat in spaces where people, blah, 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 and she said, blah, 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 blah. They don't know. I know. I remember a woman doing this. I don't like such and such and such and such because she's such and such husband and blah, 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 blah. And he's terrible. And that. And I was like, okay. And when she got finished telling 500 people around her about this woman and her husband, I said, that woman is my friend. And I know her well. And while she may have an issue with her husband, you don't know what's going on in her marriage. So can we not do this? And I never went to my friend and told her what I knew either. That's the other thing. You shouldn't have to go and say, guess who I heard and guess who was saying da 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 about you. And the other thing is, if it's true, I have nothing to say. I just walk away. Bloop. Because again, how we treat people matters in every sense of the word. Every sense of the word. And when you take your power and your privilege and you destroy people because you can, that karma comes right back. Another story I heard yesterday. Two women working in an office, both of them are VP. One is in a trajectory, just doing really well. The other one is trying to keep up with the woman next to her, but she doesn't treat her team well. She has to be the one. She second guesses the people on her team. She constantly hovers over them to see what they're doing. She wants to be in the know about everything. She doesn't trust her team, and her team doesn't like working with her at all. The other woman allows her team. She said, "I hired you. Just do your best work. I need to be assured that you want to." And she let them do. They don't have to come to her for everything. Da 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 da. The one who was jealous and was constantly trying to undermine the other one who was minding her business because God don't like ugly. Spouse dropped dead suddenly. Then she broke something else, but she still keeps trying to undermine the one who's minding her business. And I keep saying, when I heard the story, I looked and I said, yeah, that's the karma coming back. But she don't see it as the karma. She sees it that I'm just having bad luck. How you treat people shows up in the things that happens to you all the time. When folks try to destroy you, there's always going to be people in the cut because they're people. If you treat people well, those people are going to show up and say, no. You can't do that. Not for this one. Right? And they're stymied. Well, why is it that everybody likes her? Why is it that everybody wants to work with him and they don't want to work with me? Look in the mirror. I have said this over and again. If your core values are shitty, then that's what you get. And so right now, in a space where there's nothing normal happening in our country, nothing normal. Houses are being washed away in the Outer Banks. People are getting sick. All sorts of things are happening. ISIS gained more power than ever. So they can do whatever they want to do. People talk about they need a warrant, they need this, they need that. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. So how are we navigating? How are we looking now to see who is in our tribe? If you're in a group of people that are constantly dismissing people's pain, treating people horribly, and you're sitting there in that group and it isn't right, and you're still sitting there, remove yourself, y'all. Remove yourself. Let me see here. I think my guest is about to join me. Winetta says some relationships are meant to stay under the radar, and I'm telling you, if I post this picture, those folks are going to be like, oh, yep. So when I'm not posting it, Laverne says I'm 49. The 45 and older women that stir drama, keep it going and messy is ridiculous. Happens all the time. Alexandra says, everyone, if you're dealing with kidney issues, educate yourselves about oxalates, potassium, and phosphorus levels in your healthy foods intake. It will make a difference. Yes. Viola says, I can't gain weight because of what I don't eat. I met a lady yesterday that only drinks Pepsi. Yeah, there are a lot of people that are there. And in fact, I'm thinking about him, Viola, where we went and got our colonoscopies done. I think he has died. I'm going to double check. But, he was telling me, I did a colonoscopy. And he said, he showed me the picture of my intestine, clean and pink like a baby. He said, you drink a ton of water, don't you? I said, I do. Drink a ton of water. And he tells me about all the people that drink soda all the time and think that the soda has water in it to get them to where they need to. Right. Whoo, baby. Lord have mercy. Alexandra says she's going to end up with kidney issues. Yes, yes, yes. And Renetta says, yes, the man in the mirror will tell the story. So let me let my guest in. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Did you oversleep?
No, they had it on my schedule for 7 a.m. So
Oh,
I
that's
got
good.
all right, it's all
On
good.
Fridays when we're on, if you wanna join me at 6:45, that's good too. That's fine.
Okay,
Because
good.
usually we
All
have
right.
so
So
much
yeah, I
to
could
talk
have.
about. Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
do
yeah,
that next time because that
yeah,
actually might be easier.
yeah. I was talking about healthcare and how it's not healthcare. And how we
Oh
have to
my
struggle so much to get to
gosh.
where we need to. So this is Council Member Anthony Phillips. This is local. Right now, we're going to be talking about local politics. He is council member in the 9th Councilmatic District in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and they have city council meetings every Thursday, and on Friday mornings he joins me, and we have a dialogue around what was discussed in city council, what we needed to learn, what we didn't know, and so that you stay informed. Because every time there was a city council meeting, people would say, "I don't know what they're talking about." Well, here we go.
Here we are.
This is it, right?
We're getting the information we need.
Right, right, right.
Oh
So,
my
good
gosh.
morning and thank you for joining me. What is going on in City Council? What happened in City
Well,
Council yesterday?
well. Since I'm just gonna do a wrap up of the past couple weeks that we didn't get an opportunity to really talk about. So just wanted to let you know that Council Member Jamie Gaudier from the 3rd District in West Philadelphia introduced legislation a couple weeks ago that prohibits the city of Philadelphia from contracting with companies that incinerate the city's solid waste or recyclables in
Mhm.
other areas. So basically, the trash, for example, according to Gaudier, about 37% of Philadelphia's trash is burned, and nearly 1/3 of the material is incinerated at the.
Into the air that we
Yep.
breathe.
Yep. And the trash incinerated in Chester, PA, comes from Philadelphia. This incinerator burns 3,500 tons of trash and industrial waste daily. So over 2,400 tons of scrap tires that are recycled in Philadelphia also get incinerated in Chester annually. So basically, she wants to hold the city of Philadelphia accountable for working with people who have who do this. So they do this. Basically, she's saying we can't work with contractors who allow for this to happen.
So then my question becomes, forgive me, Dr. Phillips, my Jesus Christ. My question becomes, why are we taking Philadelphia trash to Chester to incinerate it? A. And B, why are we incinerating anything anywhere that is within distance of where people live and work?
I do, and I think that's the question that we all have, right? Because at the end of the day, when you take trash to Chester, you're ultimately, I mean, they'll say that they're taking trash to Chester because it's Chester has a major waste energy facility that burns a significant portion of the city's garbage. But the practice, however, exposes Chester residents to harmful pollution, and it raises significant environmental justice concerns.
And
So they're
not
doing
just
it
for the
because it's
Chester
convenient.
residents, though, because come on now, there's Delaware, there's Philly. Remember, when you put something in the air, it doesn't just sit in Chester.
Yep. And then there are groups in Chester that are concerned about like the quality of life living in Chester. There's a group called, I think, the Chester Residents Organization or something like that, and they're like actively campaigning to stop the flow of Philadelphia's trash into their community. So it impacts because when you do that, it creates dioxins. It increases rates of cancer, heart disease, asthma,
All the things that
right?
we're talking about right now.
All the things that we have issues with, right? And the problem in Philadelphia is a major hub for trash disposal. But at the same time, we have to come up with a better way. Because I know the health advocates, and the environmental advocates, there is a better way. I know they have a better way. But environmental racism is real.
It is. So she introduced the legislation yesterday. What do we need? What does she need to go through
So,
now to get
so
it to pass?
it's going to go through the committee on environment, and so that committee should be meeting very soon. And then by our next meeting, not this meeting, but the next meeting after, they should, we should be able to vote on it. Once we vote on it, and I think it's going to pass by Philadelphia City Council, the mayor will have to sign it. Now, the mayor has to make the decision to sign it or not. If the mayor doesn't sign it, it still goes into law as long as she has 12 votes, which I believe she does.
Jesus.
So yeah, it's a serious thing. But you know what? I'm actually proud of Councilmember Gadier for introducing this, because at the end of the day, this is something that she's on the Environment Committee, and this is something that is important to residents in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Because we can't do that to ourselves, and we can't do that to another neighboring community either.
Yeah.
So
And
it's just
again, remember, pollution travels in the air. So
that's
you're
very true.
burning it in Chester, you're really
Yeah,
impacting the people in Chester first,
yes,
but
yes,
it travels, right? So
yes.
we're going to be impacted. Maryland, Delaware, anything that is surrounded. Same thing when they say COVID was only in China, and
Yep.
that COVID wouldn't come. When there are things that travel, through the air, it's only a matter of time.
Exactly.
Philadelphia is also a major hub for disposal of for illegal trash disposal, tires, and why is that? What happens with contractors? Where are they supposed to drop off their stuff? Why are they dropping it off in the streets of Philadelphia?
Yeah, because so there's the best way, and I think for me the best way to take care of trash is to do it through a safe and responsible way, and I'm trying to figure out which way that is. And I have to talk to the city
Aren't
team.
there places in Philadelphia where you can take bulk trash to?
Yes, yep. We have we have yards. We have convenience centers. So basically, you can drop off those things, and so yeah, that is the best way to do it. So you could take some of your bulk trash, like hazardous waste, electronics, furniture, all that and more, at some of the local convenience centers. We have one in Northwest Philadelphia, South Philadelphia,
Right.
Northeast Philadelphia.
We know they exist, Dr. Phillips. So are the contractors charged, or are they just lazy?
That's part of the issue. Yes. So they're charged. That's what it is. Sorry, I'm sorry about that. So that's the best way to do it. The problem is that contractors are charged, with doing that, and they hate it. So they go to cheaper facilities, such as the one in Chester, that incinerates it, to do that type of work. And
Right.
so
Or
you
they
need
drop
to
it
be
off in our streets,
yes.
up the street
So
from where we live.
right.
Yes.
It should be disposed in a landfill, and then what they do at the landfill to make sure it's safely taken down. I don't know that whole process. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but it
Yeah.
needs to be safely disposed at one of the landfills, and they oftentimes don't do that.
Right. All
Yeah.
right. So what
And,
else has happened? Oh, let me just discuss Tiffany's concern about
okay.
driving 25 miles per hour on Broad Street. She got a warning notice, she said, and
Uh
she's
oh.
always
Uh
driving. Now
oh.
let me tell you
She
something.
got a warning
I,
notice.
listen, Dr. Phillips. I put my car in. I put from stop to first gear. My car is at 30 miles an hour. I can't drive on Broad Street.
You said
You know,
that.
I
You
did.
said that you were
I did.
done driving on Broad Street.
I'm done. I can't.
But
Because
here's
I would be getting a ticket every day, several times a day. And so I have to ask you
right.
this question.
Hmm.
Why didn't they make it 35 or 40 miles an hour? Was this deliberate to get more tickets paid? Because if you go a mile over 25 miles, and I'm asking, I'm not making any assumptions. If you go a mile over 25 miles an hour, that's $100 ticket.
You know
Broad
what?
Street is a major thoroughfare.
It's a major
You're
thoroughfare.
going down 611 on
You're right.
into Cheltenham. It's 40 miles per hour. Why wasn't Broad Street made 40 miles per hour? That would have seemed, people would have still been getting tickets because folks like to fly, right?
Right, right.
But
No,
25
you're
miles per
absolutely
hour?
right. I think that for me, you know what? I didn't create the enforcement law, but the reality matter is that I think you're right. I think there could be a potentiality of changing the miles per hour. I think we're gonna allow them to we're gonna allow the administration to see how this thing works out for them. But if it becomes a greater problem,
There's people are
then we'll
going to
probably have
be
to
at PPA
our
protesting like
community members
nobody's
are going to come to
business.
us. Yep, our community members are going to come to us and say that we either need to get rid of the system altogether or we need to increase the miles per hour. And I
Yeah.
think that may not be a bad idea. Move it to like 35 miles per hour because the real speeders are going 50 miles per hour. right?
Right,
That's
right.
the real issue. Like
I
those,
could do 35 miles per hour.
yeah, yeah. We could do 25 is kind of tight, but
No,
here,
25 is ridiculous.
but
25 is going from stop to first gear.
but here's the key: you gotta. A lot of times people are not paying attention. There's a sign that they always tell you right before you start driving, like when the 25 miles per hour is there. So you got to notice those signs, and then you'll know
Right.
that.
And then where the speed cameras are, but that
Yeah,
means
with
you're
speed
driving
cameras.
and slow and driving.
Yeah,
Come
but
on.
most people ain't. Some people ain't gonna care for them, right?
Yeah.
And
And then
so,
people flying all around you.
right. No, you're right. And so, but let me go ahead and tell you.
Hold on, I gotta ask you one more
Was
question.
there a
Andrea
traffic
asked
study
something.
done first?
She said, "Was
Oh,
there not a
absolutely.
traffic study done? Was there one done?"
Yeah, there was absolutely. They've had so many, especially at Broad in where's Max's Steaks? Broad in
Patsy Young?
no, Max. Max is in North Philly.
Oh wow.
Right there, Broad and Erie. Broad and
Hmm.
Erie. There was tons. I mean, it was hit and runs. There was a person who died. Broad and Allen area has seen tons of accidents as well.
Hmm.
Um, They're brought in Somerville, several accidents. It's just Broad Street has been all the way down to that McDonald's is near Temple.
Hmm.
Um, Broad Street is always constantly having accidents. Now, on the south side of Broad Street, I think there's a few, right?
Hmm.
Like Broad and Washington Avenue and so forth.
Hmm.
But the north side of Broad Street has seen complete annihilation of people and cars and so forth.
And those same people will not stop because they don't care. They're tearing up the cars that they're driving. I don't know where the cars are coming from that they're driving. They
Mm.
usually don't have driver's licenses or insurance.
See, this is why I like coming on here. I get the pulse of like how people are feeling about certain things. This is great. No, this is great for me to know because I think there could be an amendment made.
Yes.
Now, a study. If we did a study again, um, the administration very well may want to keep the cameras, but they may change
Oh
the
yeah, I'm
mind.
not telling them to take. We're not telling them to take down the cameras because we need
Yeah,
those cameras up. I get it, and some
right.
people need to be ticketed. I get it, but what I'm saying is 25 miles per hour on that major thoroughfare.
That's serious. That's a serious one. You're
Oh my
absolutely right.
God.
So let me also tell you about a couple more bills.
Okay.
Councilmember Mark Skrilla
Hmm.
introduced a bill that will increase the shopper's fee of 15 cents per bag for paper bags in grocery stores and other places. So the bill is meant to encourage people to bring their own reusable bags. So
You're still
that's
telling people that?
a
So
sometimes. So it's like they increase it so that people don't use the paper bags no more, plastic
15
bags.
cents per bag. So the other day I
Yeah.
went to go get something and I forgot my bags in the car. And the girl said the bag was 34 cents. I scooped up everything in my arm, put my receipt on top and said, I paid for this. Bye. But we all should have bags with us at this point. They've been talking about this for a few years.
For years. So I gather I mean, people are still trying to, at this point, we're used to it.
Yeah.
But that's another story itself. Then Councilmember Nina Ahmad introduced a bill that will require landlords to provide tenants with voter registration information. So ultimately, if you're a landlord in the city of Philadelphia, she's trying to mandate that every landlord, when a new tenant comes in, they got to get voter registration information because oftentimes these people come from different places and they never change their voter
Mhm.
registration. So
Okay.
she just wants them to provide that information.
Okay. Okay.
And then Kendra Brooks introduced a resolution that would condemn President Donald Trump's administration's appointment of the National Guard to American cities, calling on leaders across the country to defend democratic governance and civil
Mhm.
liberties through every lawful means. So the
Mhm.
resolution came up for a final vote in council recently, and it passed unanimously. Well, 17 to 1. Brian O'Neill
Oh,
did not vote for it.
okay.
Brian
Okay.
O'Neill's a Republican.
Okay.
And then also,
So
yeah,
what
there was
does
another
that mean? It's
resolution.
just a resolution
It's just
condemning.
basically, isn't it right? It's
Mhm.
just basically archive document that will go in the city's archives that
Mhm.
basically says that city council is not in support of Donald Trump's efforts.
Mhm.
And when it comes to deployment of
Mhm.
the National Guard. So it doesn't necessarily change anything, but it's just something for people to know.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Well,
I
I
know.
don't think it's going to stop him from doing
It,
any of these
it is
things.
not. It's not. There were people, a group of citizens came to council chambers to urge rebuild the city's capital projects team to focus on rebuilding the Carousel House in West Philadelphia, which is in
We're still talking about the Carousel
I
House.
know, which is crazy. Now, according to Councilmember Curtis Jones, the cost changed from years ago. It's been closed since June 2021, and because the cost change, which you got to monitor these things like heavily because and you got to be on top of rebuild because of the
Mhm.
cost change. It started off as a $10 million project. Now they're talking about it's up to $20 million project. And so now he's working to scramble funds. Actually, it was a $12 million project, and now, but the cost is now up more to $40 million due to inflation.
Yep.
And so Jones is pledging that the Carroll House will be rebuilt. Construction work is expected to be bidded out in 2026,
So
meaning that it's
why
going to be
did
completed
they
in
give Joe?
2028. It's been 9 years. It's been 9 years. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. No, I'm disgusted by that. I really am, and I'm sure he is too.
Because they ignored
But
the people when they were talking about it in 2020 and had given it over to somewhere else. I remember the Carousel House conversation,
wow,
right?
yep,
All these years and just was stiff necked about what the people wanted because that place is really a historical site.
yeah, and it's there for people with disabilities, right, and for them to use. And so what? Here's what the issue is. I've learned about rebuild. There's two things that often happen. Prices change, and then they
Yeah.
go out and they rebid the process again, which makes it a lot longer. What they need to do is when they see prices change,
Mm-hmm.
they need to be able to one when projects start, they need to build in the
Mm-hmm.
potentiality of inflation as opposed to just or prices changing. That's number one. Two, they need to always have money around, right? In the event that something might cost more. So you don't have to go out and rebid something. Just keep
Mm-hmm.
it in the same, use that money to do the same project.
Right.
And then also the other thing that a lot of people did
So,
wrong.
in other words, a capital gains fund.
Yes, capital gains. And here's the other thing people are not, and we're thinking about. I'm thinking about now. I'm chairperson rec, and we're going to work on this right now because this is inexcusable. So council members years ago would create these new capital projects. You get these new rec centers, new libraries, whatever they're more. Then that same new rec center that was just built is starting to fall apart, and it's like they're gone. They're happy. The community was excited for them and everything and more. But now the next council member is now has to deal with the maintenance. Now we need to so we don't have to continue to do rebuild projects every time 30 years comes around.
Mm-hmm.
We are now going to start putting money in the budget just for
Mm-hmm.
to maintain and continue to enhance our
Mm-hmm.
public spaces, our public facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Because why are we
And also
we're,
to
we're
make
constantly I'm not going to be around in 30, 40 years, but I should be thinking about the next person, right? We don't
yeah,
be thinking about that. So
that's interesting to me. Um,
yeah.
we also have to be mindful that the contractors are using the right um, materials, etc., to
Yeah.
do this work. Because if they use shoddy materials, you put a community center together, it shouldn't be falling apart in a couple of years, 10
Right.
years maybe. And the maintenance is making sure that you update the pavement, if there are cracks in the pavement, cracks in the side of the walls, make sure the utility is being operated properly. When we let all that stuff fall apart, then it costs way more money to get it up to snuff again. But I don't understand how we're thinking, but I'm
Right.
telling you, with the way the climate is in this country, what is city council saying about all the stuff that's happening in the country right now with the government shut down, folks just not sure what they're getting ready to do? I'm sure the city is being impacted. If it is, how?
No, absolutely. We are going to make some very serious decisions, especially with the spending the crisis that we're about to go into because we don't have the federal support, and now we don't also have the state support because of this budget. So
The
at
budget
some
still hasn't passed.
Nope, still hasn't passed. So at some point, we're going to make some serious decisions
Is
about.
this the longest the budget has gone not being passed at the state level?
I believe so. I think this is one of the longest times. This is one of the longest times. I'm not. I can't say it on a record, but it certainly feels that way. It
Mm-hmm.
certainly feels that way. Um, yep, yep. So I just saw someone put the
We
maintenance
started
program will
work
be built into the
because of the feasibility
feasibility
study.
study.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that hasn't been the case. I just don't understand how we've been doing all these projects without
Mm-hmm.
having maintenance included in the long
See,
term.
we did it. Go on and
Yeah,
enjoy your life.
the long time. Like, and so we get these brand new projects, everyone's excited, but after about 10 years, they're starting to deteriorate, or they're no longer as, they're no longer meeting the 20,
Yeah, because
the
they're not
century.
maintaining them.
They're
That's
not
a part of
maintaining
the
them.
problem.
You should constantly be adding on to your facility every single year, new
Lord
stuff.
have mercy. I
So
can't.
that's going to have to change, and so we're
Yeah.
changing that immediately because we're not going to be doing these $40 million rebuild projects all the time.
Every few
We could
years,
have
right?
we
It's a
could have
waste of
avoided it.
money.
We could have avoided all of this, all of this.
Easy.
But
So so
also just
so
want you to know that Councilmember Rue Landau and Kendra Brooks, they held a press conference with providers and advocates to call on the city to uphold reproductive freedom. So right now, there's been drastic cuts by the federal government, Donald Trump, that are making it more difficult for Philadelphians to access reproductive health care. So basically, it authorizes work. They're Rue Landau and Kendra want to have a hearing to talk about how Philadelphia can make sure that we do as much as we can to respond to the emerging threats on reproductive rights in terms of funding and other resources that could be available to make sure that continues.
so work with me. Let
Yeah,
me see if I got this right.
yeah.
We are taking away reproductive, which means birth control,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
from folks. They have these babies. They're removing the WIC program. The government is shut down right now. WIC is going to be in trouble after about 6 more days, where people are not going to be able to get what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Folks are not getting the support, the government support that they should get after they decided they didn't want to bring a life into this one. That's up to them. I don't have a space to put anybody in. You get to decide what you want
Mm-hmm.
to do. And life just feels absolutely untenable. You can't get a job. Minimum wage is $7.25 still an hour here in Pennsylvania. Is that the
Mm-hmm.
minimum wage still? I just want to make
Yep.
sure. Okay. And folks are being told you got to start somewhere, and so you can't do anything with $7.25 an hour. You can't
Mm-hmm.
rent a car, you can't buy a car, you can't find a space to live, because the median range of renting a space, an apartment, is $1,600 to $2,300 a month. You still with me?
I'm still with
So
you.
what is the average citizen supposed to do with everything that's going on now? I keep asking this, and I'm sorry no, I'm not sorry, because I already tell you, when you come in here, you're on the hot seat. You're on
I
the hot
am.
seat.
That's
What
right.
is city government? And I'm grateful that Rue Landau and Kendra Brooks are, putting these things together. But is it going to make a difference?
Yeah, and to be completely honest with you, it may or may not make a difference. I mean, calling on calling on the federal government to do something is almost like,
Spitting in the wind?
yeah, spitting in the wind. They may not. It's like, and so now the question becomes, and I always tell people is that, which is why oftentimes I don't do these type of resolutions, because we can let people want to hear your viewpoints on
Mhm.
issues, which is why they do it, letting you know, like, hey, I don't agree with the federal government doing this, so that's why we're doing this resolution that advocates. But does it change anything with this government? No.
No,
And with this
no,
federal government, so now what you're saying, which I agree with, is we as legislators need to do our homework for issues that matter to us in a way that doesn't matter to the federal government, to see what we can do on a local level to keep our protections that our residents want. And that homework means that we may have to figure out new
I
budget items.
know.
You
I
know, it may not,
know.
it may not, for example, it's going to be very challenging for a city to fully fund reproductive rights healthcare. You know what I mean? Like that's a huge healthcare cost, right? And but is there a way in which we can, give some money for people who really can't afford, you know, like just some seed money if in the event that they had to do, an abortion, per se, something that we could put up beside there. So I think that is something for us to talk about. I think that, Councilwoman Kendra Brooks, who actually wouldn't mind putting money in the budget for this in some capacity, because at this point, we don't know where we're gonna
But
be.
speaking of the budget, do you really have that much of a windfall? I
No,
remember when you
we
were going
don't.
into the budget hearing, that we were talking about a concern about not having a windfall of cash for the next several years. So where's this budget money coming from? Is it from the
Yeah,
Broad Street
and
Pipes?
so
I'm
and so
just
that's
asking.
and so that becomes the other reality, right? We need more. We have a lot more expenses than right as a result of the Trump administration, and but at the same time, because of the Trump administration, we don't have a lot more revenue either. And so it's like
Because
we
he's
can't
going after
at
Democratic
this point,
cities.
right? At this point, a lot of Philadelphians are going to realize that things that they're used to seeing may be cut as a result of the federal government. And I think this could be potentially a wake up call for people who are not actively engaged in voting, because they'll realize that um, local government can only save and do so much without state and federal support. um, so I think because taxes are evenly or relatively divided among three entities, and they get the most. So yeah, I think it's
We've been trying to get people prepared now for a while, and I'm not sure. I think we're at a space, and this is just the beginning.
and I
Yeah,
pray to
it's
God. I,
just
I
starting.
really pray to God that the next time around, people really wake up. Like
Well, so
if you don't wake up the next time around, then we're just gonna deal with it. In my opinion, I was just like, this is what people want. We just gonna
I,
deal with it.
I don't think we will get to the 2-year mark of people voting. I just don't think so.
Mm,
You see voting rights, the gerrymandering of districts, all of that. I think they'll go to the booth, but it'll be performative. That's just me. I don't
mm,
I don't think the Democratic side of things are going to win much of anything at the
right,
next major, right? And
right.
so we have an election coming up in November, a few weeks from now. Let's see
Mm,
what happens. I don't hear a whole lot of hullabaloo about voting. I don't.
no. And our team is going out into doors now, because I recognize that some. One thing I hate about this situation. I mean, I love that we have
Mhm.
mail-in ballots, but I also hate that we have mail-in ballots because it takes time away from how much
Yes.
time we really have until
Mhm,
an election.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but most people who are not voting, the doors we do need to knock are they'll have to go physically to the polls because they're not even
Yes.
thinking about it. So that's
Yeah.
not a problem.
Yeah.
So we just gotta really, you're right, ramp it up. I mean, honestly, you're right. I haven't seen as much action among other folks either around this November
Yeah.
election. If we
Yeah.
lose if Democrats lose this November election, we're gonna be in trouble.
Especially the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court
Abs-
judges.
Absolutely, because they're gonna change everything
Yeah, I
immediately.
saw an article. The other thing that's happening is that local folks are very angry about some of the resident judges here in the
Mhm.
local courts. And I saw an article from the Inquirer that two judges were given a vote of no confidence, right, because of the way they claim they behave in their courtrooms. And so folks are serious about these judges. They're drawing attention to what the judges are doing, how they're doing it. And I tell folks all the time, be mindful, be mindful. So, and the judges can't come out and speak for themselves. How they speak for themselves is how they behave in their courtrooms. Most people are not up at the Supreme Court level. So the judges locally, folks are in their courtrooms and see how they behave, etc. At the Supreme Court level, you don't really get to see that. If those judges are not retained at the Supreme Court level, when I tell you, when I tell you, when I tell you, we have not begun to see and experience what's coming down the pike.
Nope. Not at all. And not at all. So, well, listen, I want to say thank y'all.
Thank you.
We had Philly at the School Hype last week. It was a great program with all the students that showed up to, we basically had over 100. We had about 100 organizations there for students to sign up for after school programs. We definitely needed more parents and students there. So I'm going to talk more about what we can do to hype it up even more in the future. Because I'm like, one of the reasons why we have gun violence in the city of Philadelphia is because students are not signing up for after school programs or not.
And they're there, but they're there though.
They're there and they exist. So I think I'm going to incentivize them to come out, but because they definitely got the message.
We're going to get off the air now, but I want you next week. I'm going to invite Laverne to join us next week. She wants to talk about the conversation about PHL pre-K getting more funded from the beverage tax.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's start because she's been beating this drum now for a while. So we'll invite her next week, Friday, into our conversation so we can talk a little bit more. Because I believe you get the info, you particularly get the information and you follow up. It is important, right?
It is. It is.
And everybody is suffering right now.
Yep, absolutely. All right, I'll see y'all.
All right, take it easy.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Monica says the only thing I see about getting out the vote is only for the state justices. And that's important, Monica. It's absolutely important. I'll talk to you after I get off the air, Monica. I know I was just devastated yesterday. We'll talk later. Alexandra, that's why I received a letter of introduction from a Delaware County magistrate judge that she's running for re-election and she's bipartisan. Yeah, it's a lot, y'all. It's a lot, but it's Friday. I would like you to think about how you're going to navigate. I say this every day of every week. Just, start planning, prepping, making sure you have food to eat. Something is here. It's not coming. It is here. And you see it swirling around us. And while we are frightened and concerned about what we see happening that we have no control over, then we just got to start figuring out what we want to do. Then it says, I bet if you take the mail-in ballots to the Eagles game, people show up. Have the NFL and NBA ramp it up and give folks a couple of chicken wings for COVID. That is really a good idea. All right, y'all. This episode of Mornings with Mother is officially over. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.